On graduation day, a poor black boy stood quietly in the middle of the schoolyard, saddened that no parents had come to watch him. Around him, the laughter and mocking remarks of other children echoed, making the ache of humiliation rise in his chest. In that moment of desperation, he gathered all his courage to stop a passing stranger, an elegantly dressed woman, and tremblingly begged her to pretend to be his mother just for the ceremony without knowing that the woman's true identity would change his life forever. Before we go back, let us know where you're watching from. And subscribe because tomorrow I've got something extra special for you. Riverside Elementary's parking lot was already filling up when Zane arrived. He stood at the entrance watching families pour in. Mothers in sundresses, fathers with cameras, siblings running around. His stomach twisted into knots. "Hey Zane," Tyler Morrison called out, smirking as he walked over with his group. "Where's your mom still parking that invisible Bentley?" The kids around Tyler laughed. Jessica Chen elbowed him, but she was grinning too. "She'll be here," Zane said quietly, his voice barely above a whisper. "Sure she will. Just like last time, right?" Tyler crossed his arms, leaning in closer. "At the winter concert and the science fair, face it, man, you made her up." Heat crept up Zane's neck, his hands balled into fists, the church badge in his pocket digging into his palm through the thin fabric. The same badge his grandmother had pressed into his hand that morning, with trembling fingers whispering that it would protect him. Some protection. "My mom's real," Zane managed, but even he could hear how weak it sounded. "Then where is she?" Tyler gestured around the parking lot dramatically. "I see my mom. Jessica's mom is right there. Everyone's mom is here except yours." "Tyler, leave him alone," Jessica said, but there was pity in her voice which was somehow worse than the mockery. "I'm just saying what everyone's thinking." Tyler shrugged. "It's pathetic, dude. Why do you keep lying?" Zane's eyes burned. He turned away before they could see the tears threatening to spill and walked toward the auditorium entrance, each step heavier than the last. Tyler's laughter echoed behind him. The lie had seemed so small when he'd first told it, just a story to stop the questions, to fill the silence when everyone else talked about their mothers. But lies grew. They demanded feeding. And now he was standing here about to walk into that auditorium where a chair with his name on it sat empty, screaming the truth to everyone. That's when he saw the car. A black Audi Q8 rolled into the parking lot, like it owned the place. The paint gleamed. The chrome caught the sunlight. Every conversation stopped. Every head turned. The driver's door opened, and Maria Onyango stepped out. She was tall, blonde, dressed in a cream pantsuit that probably cost more than his grandmother's entire year of disability checks. Her heels clicked against the asphalt with authority. She reached back into the car for her purse, leather designer, the kind Zane had only seen in magazines at the grocery store. Behind him, Tyler let out a low whistle. "Holy!" Maria walked toward the entrance, her phone already to her ear. "I don't care what the board says, Mitchell. The Singapore deal closes today, or we pull out." "I'm not waiting for—" She glanced at her watch, Cartier Platinum. "I've got 15 minutes before I need to be wheels up to New York." She was 10 feet away now. Zane's heart hammered against his ribs. This was insane. This was stupid. This woman didn't know him, didn't owe him anything. But Tyler was watching. Jessica was watching. Everyone was watching. And that chair with his name on it was still empty. He stepped into her path. Maria nearly walked into him, stopping short. Her expression flickered from surprise to annoyance. "Excuse me." Her tone was clipped professional, already dismissing him. "Please." The word tumbled out of Zane's mouth before he could stop it. "I need you to pretend to be my mom." Maria's eyes widened. She lowered the phone. "What?" "Just for the ceremony. 1 hour, please." Zane's voice shook words, spilling out faster now. "I told everyone my mom was coming, and she's not. And there's a chair. There's a chair with my name on it, and it's going to be empty. And everyone's going to know I lied, and... Kid, I don't have time for... Please." His voice cracked, the tears he'd been holding back since Tyler's taunts threatened to spill. "I'll never ask for anything again. Just sit in the chair. That's all. Just sit there so it's not empty." Maria stared at him, really looked at him, at his too small shirt with a stain near the bottom button, at his scuffed shoes that were clearly hand-me-downs 2 sizes too big, at the desperate hope in his eyes that was already dying because he could see it in her face. She was going to say, "No." "I'm sorry," Maria said, her voice softer now but still firm. "I have a company to run. People depending on me. I can't." She moved past him. Zane stood frozen as she walked away. The church badge fell from his hand, hitting the pavement with a small clink. Behind him, Tyler's laugh cut through the air like a knife. "Dude, did you just beg a random lady to pretend to be your mom? That's next level pathetic." "Shut up, Tyler," Jessica said, but the pity in her voice made it worse. Zane bent down to pick up the badge, his hands shaking. When he straightened up, they were all staring, whispering, pointing. He'd made it worse. So much worse. Maria was halfway to her car when she caught her reflection in the side mirror, but it wasn't her reflection she focused on. Behind her, small and alone in a sea of families, stood the boy. His shoulders were hunched. His head was down. He was holding something small in his hand, turning it over and over. Even from here, she could see him trembling. Her hand froze on the door handle. "Just get in the car. You have New York. You have Singapore. You have a dozen fires to put out." But she couldn't stop seeing him. 7 years old, maybe 8, standing there like he was waiting for the ground to swallow him whole. Her chest tightened. Her son would have been 9 this year. The thought hit her like it always did, sudden, brutal. Daniel, her baby. Gone 3 years now in a crash that should never have happened. A drunk driver who walked away with barely a scratch while her boy. She'd spent 3 years building walls, burying herself in work, in deals and numbers that made sense when nothing else did. She'd sworn she was done with school events, with children's laughter, with anything that reminded her of what she'd lost. But this boy, standing there alone clutching something like it, was the only thing keeping him upright. "It's just an hour. 1 hour. Mitchell, I'll call you back." She ended the call and turned around. Zane was walking toward the auditorium entrance, head down, when he heard it. "Wait." He turned. Maria was standing there, her expression unreadable. "What's your name?" "Zane," he whispered, afraid to hope. "Zane Brooks." "You said 1 hour." "Yes, ma'am." Maria looked at him for a long moment. She saw the stain on his shirt, the 2 short sleeves, the hope and fear warring in his eyes. She exhaled slowly like she was about to do something incredibly stupid and knew it. "Fine. 1 hour. Where's this chair?" Zane's eyes went wide. You mean it? I don't say things I don't mean. Now move. I've got a flight to catch after this." The auditorium was filling fast. Zane led Maria down the center aisle to the second row, where a handwritten sign on a folding chair read, "Reserved for Zane Brooks' family." Maria sat down, smoothing her pantsuit. Zane stood next to her, unable to believe this was real. "Thank you. Thank you so much. I don't know how to—" "Don't make me regret this," Maria said, but her voice wasn't unkind. She glanced at him. "Go on, get with your class." Zane nodded and ran toward the stage area where the other first graders were gathering. Tyler was there, his mouth hanging open. "Dude, is that—" "My mom," Zane said, lifting his chin. "Told you she'd come." From the hallway near the entrance, Frank Wilson stood with a delivery clipboard in his hand, supposedly dropping off supplies to the cafeteria. But he'd gotten distracted by the parade of wealth rolling into the parking lot. Then he saw her. The blonde in the cream suit, the Audi Q8, the Cartier watch catching light every time she moved her wrist. And she was sitting in the family section for that kid, the Brooks kid from Martha's falling apart apartment on Maple Street. Frank's eyes narrowed. He knew that neighborhood. He'd been there last week, collecting on a loan Martha couldn't pay. What the hell was a woman like this doing with a kid like that? He pulled out his phone, angling for a clear shot. Click. Maria leaning down, saying something to the boy. Click. Her checking her phone, the designer purse on her lap. A slow smile spread across Frank's face as he zoomed in on the photos, studying every detail. The clothes, the jewelry, the effortless confidence that only came with serious money. "Big fish," he whispered, slipping the phone back into his pocket. "Very big fish." On stage, the principal began welcoming everyone to the graduation ceremony. Zane sat in the front row with the other students, but he kept glancing back. Maria was still there. The chair wasn't empty. For the first time in weeks, Zane allowed himself to breathe. The ceremony ended with applause and camera flashes. Parents swarmed their children, wrapping them in hugs and pride. Zane walked slowly toward Maria, clutching his certificate like it might disappear. "Thank you," he said when he reached her, "for sitting there, for making them think." "Where do you live?" Maria cut him off, her business tone back in place. Zane's smile faltered. "Why?" "Because I drove you here. I'm driving you home." She was already walking toward the exit, heels clicking. "Unless you'd prefer to walk." "No, I mean you don't have to. I don't do things I don't have to do." Maria pushed through the double doors into the parking lot. "Car. Now! Zane climbed into the Audi, sinking into leather seats that smelled like money. He'd never been in a car this nice. Hell, he'd barely been in any car. The dashboard glowed with screens and buttons he didn't understand. Address. Maria started the engine. Maple Street. The apartment's near. I'll find it. Put your seatbelt on. They drove in silence through downtown, past the nice neighborhoods with their manicured lawns and two-car garages. Then the scenery changed. Storefronts became boarded up, playgrounds rusted, sidewalks cracked. Maria's grip tightened on the steering wheel. It's the next left, Zane said quietly. The gray building. Gray was generous. The apartment complex looked like it had given up decades ago. Walls stained with water damage, windows covered with cardboard, a broken swing set in what used to be a courtyard, now just dirt and broken glass. Maria pulled up to the curb and stared. This is where you live. Zane nodded, not meeting her eyes. Third floor, apartment 3B. Before Maria could respond, someone knocked on her window. Hard. She jumped, turning to see a man in his 40s, stocky build, wearing a stained delivery uniform. His smile didn't reach his eyes. Maria lowered the window halfway. Can I help you? Frank Wilson. He leaned down too close, studying her face. I work around here. Deliveries. Saw you at the school earlier. His eyes flicked to Zane in the passenger seat. You're... What exactly to the kid? That's none of your business. Just curious. Frank's smile widened. See, I know Martha. The boy's grandmother. Been knowing her for years. She never mentioned family with an Audi. He tapped the hood appreciatively. Q8 right loaded. You must be doing well for yourself. I need to go. Maria reached for the window button. Frank's hand stopped it. Thing is, ma'am, this neighborhood talks. And a lady like you showing up for a kid like him, that's gonna raise questions. He glanced at Zane again, something calculating in his expression. The boy's got more secrets than you think. Might want to be careful getting involved. Remove your hand from my car. Frank held up both hands, backing away with that same unsettling smile. Just looking out for you. Have a good day now. He walked away, slowly pulling out his phone. Maria, quote, his jaw clenched. She watched him in the rearview mirror until he turned the corner, then looked at Zane. Who was that? Nobody. He comes around sometimes, looking for Grandma Martha. Zane unbuckled his seatbelt. I should go. Wait. Maria killed the engine. I'm coming with you. You don't need to. I'm coming. The stairwell smelled like mildew and something worse. Maria followed Zane up 3 flights, stepping over trash and questionable stains. He stopped at a door with peeling paint and knocked softly. Grandma, it's me. The door opened to reveal an elderly black woman in a wheelchair, oxygen tubes in her nose. Her face lit up when she saw Zane, then froze when she saw Maria behind him. Baby who? This is Maria, Zane said quickly. She sat with me at the ceremony. She wanted to make sure I got home safe. Martha's eyes widened. She looked from Maria to Zane and back again, something like fear crossing her face. You didn't have to do that, ma'am. We're fine. We're just fine. May I come in? Maria asked, her voice softer now. Martha hesitated, then wheeled backward. It's not much. Not much was an understatement. The entire apartment was smaller than Maria's walk-in closet, one room serving as kitchen bedroom and living space, a hot plate on a card table, a mattress on the floor, clothes hanging from a rope strung across the ceiling. But it was clean, desperately, heartbreakingly clean. Zane, baby, go wash up, Martha said, not taking her eyes off Maria. Zane disappeared behind a curtain that served as a bathroom door. Martha wheeled closer. I don't know what he told you, ma'am, but we don't need charity. We're managing. He didn't tell me anything. Maria sat on the only chair, a plastic folding one. He asked me to pretend to be his mother for an hour. That's all. Lord. Martha's hands shook as she covered her face. I told him not to do that. I told him, why doesn't he have a mother? The question hung in the air. Martha lowered her hand slowly. Because I found him on the steps of Grace Baptist Church 7 years ago. Someone left him there in a cardboard box. No note, no name, nothing but the clothes on his back and a church badge pinned to his blanket. Maria went still. You found him? I was cleaning the church that morning. Sunday service was in an hour. I heard crying, and there he was. Maybe 6 months old, blue from the cold. Martha's voice cracked. I took him to the hospital. They called child services. I thought they'd find his parents, find him a good home. But nobody came. Nobody claimed him. So you kept him. I fostered him first. Then I applied to adopt. Martha looked down at her hands, but they denied me. Said I was too old, too sick, didn't have the resources. They were going to put him in the system. So I kept him anyway. Illegally. Yes. Martha met her eyes. I kept him illegally because I loved him and he needed someone and I couldn't let them take him. I know it was wrong. I know he don't have papers, can't get a real birth certificate, can't. Her voice broke completely. But I gave him a home. I gave him love. That counts for something, don't it? Maria's throat tightened. You're sick. Emphysema, stage 3. I got maybe a year, they say. Less if I'm unlucky. Martha wiped her eyes. I don't know what's going to happen to him when I'm gone. That's what keeps me up at night. Not the dying, the not knowing. Behind the curtain, water ran. Zane was humming something. Does he know? Maria asked. About any of this? He knows I ain't his blood grandmother. He knows I found him. He don't know about the papers, though. Don't know he's got no legal existence in this country. Martha leaned forward. Please don't tell the authorities. Please. They'll take him and he'll disappear into foster care and I'm not going to tell anyone. Maria stood moving to the small kitchen area. A hot plate, 2 pots, ramen packets stacked in a box. She opened the mini fridge, milk eggs, half a loaf of bread. This was it. This was everything they had. Zane emerged from behind the curtain, wearing different clothes, still too small, still worn, but clean. He went straight to the hot plate and started pulling out ingredients. What are you doing? Maria asked. Making dinner. He cracked 2 eggs into a pot. Grandma can't really cook no more, so I do it. Maria watched him work. 7 years old, cooking dinner because his grandmother couldn't. He moved with practiced efficiency, measuring water, stirring. When he reached up to grab a pot from the shelf, his shirt rode up. That's when she saw it. A small scar at the base of his skull, crescent-shaped, faded but visible. How did you get that scar? The words came out before she could stop them. Zane, S hand flew to his neck. I don't know. Grandma says I had it when she found me. Martha nodded. Birthmark, maybe. Or something that happened before he was left. But Maria couldn't stop staring at it. Something about it felt significant, important. Zane finished cooking scrambled eggs and toast divided onto 2 plates. He gave the bigger portion to Martha, kept the smaller for himself. You want some? He offered Maria. She looked at the tiny portion at this child, offering to share the little he had. Her heart cracked open. No, baby. You eat. She watched them share their meager meal, Martha's hands too shaky to hold the fork, Zane feeding her bites between his own. This broken family in their broken home surviving on love and air. Maria pulled out her phone and made a decision that would change everything. I need to make a call, she said, stepping toward the door. I'll be right back. Outside in the hallway, she dialed her lawyer. Richard, it's Maria. I need you to look into something. Adoption law, guardianship, a child without papers. She glanced back at the apartment door. And I need it done quietly. No authorities, not yet. Can you do that? A pause. Maria, what are you getting into? Something I should have done 3 years ago. She ended the call and stared at the cracked wall. She'd spent 3 years running from anything that reminded her of Daniel. 3 years building walls, choosing numbers over people's safety, over risk. But that little boy in there cooking dinner for his dying grandmother, offering food to a stranger, he'd cracked something open in her she thought had died with her son. She wasn't walking away from this. She couldn't. Whatever it took, whatever it cost, she was going to make sure Zane had a future. Even if she had to burn down every wall she'd built to do it. 3 weeks later, Maria's phone rang at 6 in the morning. Have you seen it? Richard's voice was tight with concern. Seen what? Page 6 of the Chronicle. You need to look now. Maria grabbed her laptop, her coffee forgotten. The headline made her blood run cold. Billionaire Maria Onyango's secret heir, mystery boy spotted at elite events. Below it, photos. Her and Zane at the graduation ceremony. Her car parked outside Martha's apartment building. Zane getting into her Audi outside a restaurant she'd taken him to last week. The article was vague but damaging, speculating about her relationship with an unidentified minor from the low-income Maple Street district. It mentioned her late son, suggested she was filling a void, questioned her judgment. Who leaked this? Maria's hand shook. I'm working on it. But Maria, there's more. Someone filed a claim with Child Services this morning. They're saying the boy is being kept illegally, that there's a biological parent looking for him. Maria's stomach dropped. What? I don't have details yet, but... The doorbell rang. Not the gate intercom. The actual front door of her estate. Someone had gotten past security. I'll call you back." Maria ended the call and walked to the door, her heart pounding. Through the peephole, she saw a woman in her early 30s, bleached blonde hair, too much makeup, wearing a tight dress that looked expensive but cheap at the same time. Maria opened the door halfway. "Can I help you?" The woman's eyes lit up, scanning past Maria into the marble foyer, the chandelier, the original Monet visible in the hallway. "Holy shit, this is really how you live. Who are you?" "Vanessa Brooks." The woman smiled, revealing yellowed teeth. "I'm Zane's mother." Every muscle in Maria's body went rigid. "Excuse me. The boy you've been parading around town, yeah. He's mine. Popped him out 8 years ago." Vanessa pushed past Maria into the house uninvited. "Wow, this painting looks real. Must be worth what couple million. Get out of my house." "Not until we talk about my son." Vanessa turned her eyes, calculating. "See, I made a mistake 7 years ago. I was young, broke, struggling. Left him at that church, thinking someone better could raise him. Broke my heart, but what choice did I have?" Her voice dripped with fake emotion. "Now I see he's got a billionaire playing mommy. That changes things. You abandoned him." "I was desperate, but I've changed. Got myself together, got clean." Vanessa glanced at the bar cart, licking her lips. "Mostly clean. Point is, I want my boy back. He doesn't even know you. Blood is blood, honey." Vanessa walked to the window overlooking the pool, the tennis court, the guest house. "Jesus, you really are loaded." She turned back. "Here's the thing. I could make this ugly. Real ugly. Go to the press, say you stole my baby, manipulated a sick old woman. Paint you as some rich psycho who couldn't handle losing her own kid, so she's stealing someone else's." She paused. "Or we could handle this quietly. You want money. I want what's fair." Vanessa's mask dropped, her voice hardening. "That boy is my meal ticket. You think I'm gonna let you just take him? I carried him for 9 months. I got rights. You threw those rights away when you left him in a box to die." "Watch your mouth." Vanessa stepped closer. "I got a lawyer. I got documentation. I got DNA that proves he's mine. What do you got? A soft heart and a fat wallet that don't mean shit in court." Maria's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Don't pay her. She's lying about half of it. F.W. Frank Wilson." "How much?" Maria asked coldly. Vanessa's eyes gleamed. 5 million. "For what?" "For me to disappear. Sign over my rights, nice and legal. No drama, no headlines. You get the kid. I get enough to start fresh somewhere far away." Vanessa pulled out her phone, showing Maria photos, screenshots of news articles, legal documents all ready to go. "Or I can send these to every media outlet in the country. Let them crucify you for kidnapping a poor mother's child. Your choice." The front door opened. Zane walked in with Martha returning from a doctor's appointment Maria had arranged. He froze when he saw Vanessa. His face went white. "There's my baby." Vanessa rushed toward him, arms open. Zane stumbled backward into Martha's wheelchair. "No. Baby, it's Mommy. I came back for you." "No." Zane's voice was barely a whisper. His whole body trembled. You're the voice." "What voice, sweetie?" "The voice that said goodbye." Zane's breathing quickened. "In the dark, the cold. You said you were sorry, but you had to. You said—" He pressed his hands over his ears. I remember your voice." Martha pulled him close. "Vanessa, you need to leave. I'm not going anywhere without my son." Vanessa's voice turned shrill. "He's mine. I got papers. I got rights." "You got nothing but a black heart," Martha spat. "You sold that boy's life for money 7 years ago. I gave you every penny I had so you'd leave him with me instead of killing him." The room went silent. Maria stared at Martha. "What?" Martha's face crumpled. "I lied. I didn't find him on the church steps. She brought him to me. Offered to sell him. Said she needed money for drugs, for debts, or she was going to leave him somewhere to die. I gave her my life savings, $3,000. Everything I had for my husband's cancer treatment." Tears streamed down her face. She took the money and ran. I thought she was gone for good. Vanessa laughed, harsh and cold. "And I would have stayed gone if you hadn't upgraded him to a billionaire. Now the price is 5 million. Inflation, you know." Zane made a sound like a wounded animal. He ran from the room, his footsteps echoing up the stairs. Maria S hands clenched into fists. "Get out. Make me. Or better yet, write me a check." Vanessa pulled a card from her purse, dropping it on the marble floor. "You got 72 hours. After that, I'm going public. And trust me, honey, I can make you look real bad." She walked out, heels clicking, leaving the door open behind her. Martha wheeled toward Maria, gasping for breath. I'm sorry. I should have told you. I should have. It's okay. Maria helped her sit back, adjusting her oxygen. You did what you had to do. But she's right. She's got legal claim. She's his biological mother, and I got nothing. No papers, no rights, nothing. Maria picked up Vanessa's card. On the back, handwritten, Frank Wilson says hi. So that was it. Frank had found Vanessa, probably tracked her down through old records or neighborhood gossip. He'd orchestrated this whole thing, leaked the photos, set up the extortion. Maria pulled out her phone and called Richard. I need everything you can find on Vanessa Brooks. Criminal record, financial history, known associates, everything. And find out how she's connected to Frank Wilson. Maria, if you're thinking of fighting this, I'm not thinking of fighting. I'm thinking of winning. She ended the call and looked up the stairs where Zane had disappeared. The boy who remembered his mother's voice saying goodbye. The boy who'd been sold for $3,000. The boy who was now worth $5 million to a woman who'd never wanted him. Maria climbed the stairs and found Zane in the guest room she'd set up for him, curled on the bed, shaking. She's gonna take me away, he whispered. She's gonna take me and sell me again. Maria sat on the bed, pulling him close. No one is taking you anywhere. But she's my real mom. She's got rights. She's got nothing. Maria held him tighter. She gave up her rights the day she put a price tag on you. And I promise you, Zane, I will burn every dollar I have before I let her touch you. Zane buried his face in her shoulder, his small body racked with sobs. Outside, a car engine started. Through the window, Maria saw a beat-up sedan pulling away from the gate. In the driver's seat, Frank Wilson. In the passenger seat, Vanessa, already on her phone. Maria watched them go, her jaw set. This wasn't over. This was just beginning. But they'd made a mistake coming after her. They thought they were playing against a grieving woman with too much money and not enough sense. They had no idea who they were really dealing with. 2 days later, Vanessa was on television. Maria stood in her living room, remote frozen in her hand, watching the interview on Channel 7's morning show. Vanessa sat on the couch in a modest dress Maria knew she didn't own yesterday, dabbing her eyes with a tissue. She just took him. Vanessa sobbed into the camera. I was getting my life together trying to find my baby, and this billionaire swoops in with her money and her lawyers and just takes him, like he's a toy she can buy. The host leaned forward sympathetically. That must be devastating for you. You have no idea. I made mistakes when I was young, yes. I struggled, but I never stopped loving my son, never stopped looking for him. Vanessa's voice cracked perfectly. And now she's got him locked away in some mansion, probably turning him against me, telling him his real mother doesn't want him. Miss Onyango's representatives declined to comment for this segment. Of course they did. Money buys silence, but it can't buy a mother's love. Vanessa looked directly into the camera. Zane, baby, if you're watching, Mommy's fighting for you. Mommy's coming to bring you home. Maria's phone exploded with notifications, texts, emails, calls from reporters, from board members, from friends, asking what the hell was going on. Her PR team was in crisis mode. Social media was already tearing her apart. Rich witch thinks she can buy a child. Another billionaire playing God with poor people's lives. Maybe she should have focused on being a better mother to the kid she already lost. That last one made Maria's vision blur with rage. Richard called. Emergency hearings in 2 hours. The judge wants to see both parties. Vanessa filed for immediate custody pending full trial. She can't just... She can. She's got DNA evidence proving maternity. We've got nothing but Martha's story and no legal documentation. Maria, you need to prepare yourself. The judge might grant temporary custody to Vanessa. Like hell. It's protocol when a biological parent comes forward. I'm sorry. The courtroom was packed with reporters. Judge Patricia Morrison, a stern woman in her 60s, gavelled for order as Maria sat on one side with her legal team and Vanessa sat on the other with a public defender who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. This is a preliminary hearing to determine temporary custody of the minor child known as Zane Brooks pending full investigation and trial. Judge Morrison looked over her reading glasses. Miss Brooks, you claim to be the biological mother. Yes, Your Honor. I have DNA results right here. Vanessa's lawyer submitted the documents. I've been searching for my son for years. I made a terrible mistake leaving him, but I was young and desperate. Now I'm ready to be the mother he deserves. Miss Onyango, what is your relationship to the child? Maria stood. I've been caring for him for the past month, Your Honor. His legal guardian, Martha Brooks, is terminally ill and unable to... Martha Brooks has no legal guardianship, the judge interrupted. According to these documents, she's been harboring the child without proper authorization for 7 years. She saved his life. Vanessa abandoned him. That's a lie. Vanessa shot to her feet. I left him with someone I trusted. After she paid you $3,000. Maria's voice rose. Judge Morrison slammed her gavel. Enough. Miss Onyango, do you have legal standing to contest this custody claim? Maria's lawyer stood. We're filing for emergency guardianship based on what? A month of acquaintance wealth. The judge shuffled papers. Miss Brooks has biological claim. Until we can determine what's in the child's best interest through proper investigation, temporary custody will be granted to the biological mother. Maria's world tilted. Your Honor, please. Visitation will be supervised. Miss Brooks, you'll be required to maintain stable housing and submit to random drug testing. This court will reconvene in 30 days for a full custody hearing. The gavel came down. Dismissed. Vanessa's smile was triumphant as she walked past Maria. See you in 30 days, rich girl. Hope you enjoyed playing house. That afternoon, Maria watched Zane pack his small bag of belongings, his hands shaking. She'd slipped a watch onto his wrist earlier, expensive looking, but cheap enough not to raise suspicion. Inside the band, a camera no bigger than a pencil eraser, audio-enabled transmitting to her phone. I don't want to go, Zane whispered. I know, baby, but it's only temporary. Maria knelt down, gripping his shoulders. Listen to me. Whatever happens, you stay strong. I'm working on this. I'm going to fix this. What if you can't? I will. She hugged him tight. I promise you I will. The social worker arrived to transfer him. Maria watched from the window as Zane got into the car, looking back at her with tears streaming down his face. She pulled out her phone and opened the monitoring app. The watch was transmitting perfectly. The apartment Vanessa took Zane to wasn't hers. That much was obvious from the lack of personal belongings, the furniture still wrapped in plastic. Maria watched through the camera feed as Vanessa shoved Zane toward a small bedroom. Stay in there, don't touch anything, and don't make noise. Zane sat on the bed staring at his hands. Through the watch's microphone, Maria could hear everything. 20 minutes later, a knock. Vanessa opened the door. Frankie, get in here. Frank Wilson entered carrying a bottle of whiskey. He looked around the apartment and whistled. Not bad. How much is this place running you? Running us, you mean. You're the one who rented it. Vanessa grabbed the bottle, taking a swig. Can't have the judge seeing me in that shithole motel. Smart. Frank poured himself a glass. So when do we get the payout? Soon as her lawyers cave. Give it a week, maybe 2. She's rich, but she's soft. She'll pay to make this go away. Frank laughed. $5 million, split 50-50. 60-40. It's my kid. Your kid you didn't give a shit about until I told you he'd landed a billionaire. Frank's voice hardened. Don't forget, I'm the one who tracked you down, set this whole thing up. Without me, you'd still be turning tricks in Atlantic City. Through the watch, Maria could see Zane pressing his hands over his ears. Vanessa topped off her glass. Fine. 60-40. But after this, we're done. I take my money and disappear. What about the kid? What about him? You think I want to raise a brat? As soon as we get paid, he's her problem again. Or foster care. I don't give a shit. Cold. Frank grinned. I like it. He moved toward the bedroom. Let me see him. Make sure he's really yours. Don't you fucking touch him. Relax. I just want to look. Frank opened the door. Zane scrambled backward on the bed, eyes wide with terror. Frank studied him for a long moment. Weird. He's got my eyes. You sure I'm not the daddy? Vanessa snorted. Could be. Could be any of 6 guys from that year. Does it matter? Guess not. Frank closed the door. Long as he's worth $5 million. They returned to the living room, drinking, laughing, counting money they didn't have yet. Hours passed. Maria watched the sun set through the window in Zane's room. She watched him curl up on the bed, still in his clothes, no blanket offered. Around midnight, she heard Vanessa's voice slurred now. Frank, where'd you put that paper? The one from Martha. What paper? The receipt or whatever, from when I sold him to her. Might need it for court proof I had a plan for him. You didn't have a plan. You needed drug money. They don't need to know that. Footsteps, rustling. Where the hell is it? I thought you had it. No, I gave it to you when we met up last month. Well, I don't have it now. Check your shit. More rustling, drawers opening. It's gotta be here somewhere. In his room, Zane sat up slightly. Listening. Frank S voice lowered. Why do you need it anyway? Insurance, in case the rich bitch tries to say I abandoned him. That paper proves I made arrangements, left him with someone to care for him. That paper proves you sold a baby. Semantics. They kept searching. Maria made notes on her phone. A paper. Physical evidence of the transaction. That could change everything. Around 2 a.m., Vanessa passed out on the couch. Frank left, but not before taking $100 from her purse. Zane lay in the dark, staring at the ceiling. His stomach growled. They hadn't fed him dinner. Through the watch, Maria heard him whisper, "Please come get me. Please." Her hands clenched around her phone. Richard had warned her not to interfere, that any violation of the custody order would destroy her case. But listening to this child beg in the darkness, hungry and scared, she pulled up her lawyer's number, then stopped. 30 days. She had 30 days to build a case so airtight that no judge could deny her. 30 days to find that paper to prove Vanessa's unfitness to bring Frank down. She could last 30 days. Zane could last 30 days. He had to. On the screen, Zane pulled a thin blanket over himself, hugging his knees to his chest. "I'll be strong," he whispered to himself. Like Maria said, "I'll be strong." Maria wiped her eyes and opened her laptop. Time to stop playing defense. Time to destroy them both. Day 7. Maria sat in the hospital room where Martha had been admitted 2 nights ago. The stress had triggered a severe episode, her lungs barely functioning. Oxygen mask over her face, monitors beeping. The old woman looked like she was fading. But her eyes were sharp when Maria leaned close. "I need to tell you the truth," Martha whispered, her voice barely audible through the mask. "About that night. About Zane." Maria pulled her chair closer. "What truth?" "I lied in court. I lied to protect him." Martha's hand trembled as she gripped Maria's wrist. "I didn't find Zane on the church steps. Not like I said." "What do you mean?" "I was there that night, cleaning like always. But I heard voices outside, arguing. I looked out and saw Vanessa with a baby in a cardboard box. She was setting it down on the steps, about to walk away." Martha's eyes filled with tears. It was January, 20 degrees. That baby would have frozen to death in an hour. Maria's chest tightened. "You stopped her." "I ran out. Asked her what the hell she was doing. She looked at me like I was crazy for caring. Said she couldn't afford a kid, couldn't handle it, needed to get rid of it." Martha coughed, the monitor spiking. "I said I'd call the police. She laughed, said go ahead. By the time they got there, she'd be gone and the baby would be dead." Jesus. Then she looked at me different, calculating, asked if I wanted it, just like that. "You want it, old lady? Make me an offer." Martha's voice broke. She was selling her baby like a used car. Maria felt sick. "How much?" "Everything I had. $3,000. My husband's cancer treatment fund. Every penny we'd saved." Tears streamed down Martha's weathered face. "I gave it to her right there." She pulled out a piece of paper from her purse, wrote something on it, signed it, said it was proof she was giving him up willingly. Then she took my money and walked away without looking back. "You have that paper?" "No. I gave it back to her years later." Martha closed her eyes. "She showed up when Zane was 3. Drunk, demanding more money. Said if I didn't pay, she'd report me for kidnapping. Use that paper to prove she never intended to abandon him permanently. I couldn't give her more. I had nothing left. So she kept the paper. Said it was her insurance policy." Maria stood abruptly, pulling out her phone. She dialed Richard. "I need you to dig deeper into Frank Wilson. Connection to Vanessa Brooks 7 years ago. Gambling debts, loan sharks, anything." "On it." She hung up and looked at Martha. "That paper proves she sold Zane. It's evidence of human trafficking. But she has it, and she'll destroy it before she lets it see a courtroom." "Not if I get it first." Maria's mind raced. The watch feed. Frank and Vanessa searching for a paper. They didn't know where it was, which meant it existed somewhere. Her phone rang. "Richard, found something. Frank Wilson had massive gambling debts 7 years ago. We're talking $50,000 to a loan shark named Eddie Russo. The debt was paid off suddenly in January, same month Zane was left at the church. Let me guess, $3,000 down payment." "Exactly. Vanessa's payment to Martha wasn't for drugs. It was to save Frank's kneecaps. He set up the whole sale." Maria smiled coldly. "That makes him an accomplice to child trafficking. Get me everything. Every document, every witness who knew about Frank's debts." "What are you planning?" "To give them exactly what they want." 2 days later, Maria called Vanessa's phone. Vanessa answered on the second ring, suspicion in her voice. "What do you want?" "To negotiate. You win. I'll pay." Silence. "Then I'm listening. 5 million, unmarked bills. You sign over parental rights permanently. Take the money, disappear." How do I know you won't screw me? Because I want this over. I want Zane safe and legal. You want money. We both get what we want. Maria kept her voice flat, defeated. But I want that paper. The one you made Martha sign. The proof of transfer. I need it to seal the adoption. Make sure you can't come back later claiming you were coerced. Vanessa laughed. Smart. Yeah, I got it. Frank's been holding on to it for me. Bring it to the exchange. Hilton Hotel Presidential Suite. Tomorrow, 8 p.m. You, Frank, and the paper. I'll have the money. This better not be a trick. No tricks. I'm tired of fighting. You win. Maria hung up and immediately called Richard. Set it up. I need police, I need witnesses, and I need recording equipment in that hotel room. Maria, if this goes wrong, it won't. She pulled up the watch feed. Zane was in his room hungry again. Vanessa had given him cereal for dinner 3 nights in a row. Just trust me. The next evening, Maria stood in the presidential suite of the Hilton. A briefcase sat on the coffee table filled with bundled newspapers wrapped to look like cash. The real money was in her account ready to transfer if this somehow went sideways. Hidden cameras in the corners, undercover officers in the adjacent rooms, Richard in the bathroom with recording equipment, 8 p.m. exactly a knock. Maria opened the door. Vanessa strutted in wearing a new dress, probably bought on credit. Frank followed, smirking cocky. Where's the money? Vanessa's eyes locked on the briefcase. Where's the paper? Frank pulled a folded yellow document from his jacket. Right here. You want to see it first? No. You want to count the money first. They stared at each other. A standoff. Finally, Vanessa broke. Fine. Same time. You give us the case, we give you the paper. One condition. I need you both to confirm what that paper says. For my lawyer. Maria gestured to Richard, who stepped out of the bathroom with a recorder. Just state what the document is. Then we exchange. Frank glanced at Vanessa. She shrugged. It's a signed statement from me saying I'm giving up my kid to Martha Brooks in exchange for payment. Dated January 15th, 7 years ago. Payment of how much? Maria pressed. $3,000. Vanessa smiled. Best investment Martha ever made, right? And Frank, you witnessed this transaction. Hell, I arranged it. Frank laughed. Vanessa owed me money. I owed worse people money. The old church lady had cash. Everybody won. Except Zane. Kid's fine. He survived, didn't he? Frank unfolded the paper, showing it to Maria. Here's proof. Vanessa's signature, my signature as witness, the whole deal spelled out. Maria took the paper, reading it. Vanessa's handwriting shaky but legible. I, Vanessa Brooks, voluntarily surrender custody of my infant son in exchange for payment of $3,000 to Martha Brooks. I will not seek custody in the future. Signed this day, January 15th. Below it, Frank's signature. A confession in writing. Maria looked up at them. You just admitted to human trafficking on camera. Vanessa's smile froze. What? The bathroom door burst open. 2 police officers emerged. The suite door opened. 2 more. Vanessa Brooks, Frank Wilson, you're under arrest for child trafficking, extortion, and fraud. Frank lunged for the door. An officer tackled him. Vanessa screamed, clawing at the officer, trying to cuff her. You bitch! You set us up! You set yourselves up. Maria held up the paper. This document is evidence of a crime. You sold a child. You just confessed to it on recording. That was 7 years ago, statute of limitations. Not for human trafficking. Not when the crime is ongoing through current extortion. Richard stepped forward with his tablet. We also have video evidence from the past week of you neglecting the child, discussing splitting extortion money, and admitting to abandoning him to die. That's more than enough. Frank stopped struggling, his face pale. Wait, we can make a deal. I got information on Vanessa. She's done worse than this. Shut your mouth. Vanessa kicked at him. The officers separated them, reading their rights as they dragged them toward the door. Vanessa looked back at Mariah, hatred burning in her eyes. He's still mine. Blood is blood. You can't change that. Blood means nothing. Love means everything. And you've never loved him. Maria folded the paper carefully. You're going to prison, and Zane is never going to see you again. They were gone. The suite fell silent except for the click of Richard's recorder shutting off. That was risky, he said. That was necessary. Maria looked at the paper again. Physical proof. Recorded confession. Police witnesses. Can Vanessa still fight for custody? From prison facing trafficking charges, no judge will even hear it. Richard smiled slightly. You just won. Maria's phone buzzed. The watch feed. Zane was still in that apartment alone, probably wondering why Vanessa hadn't come back. Get child services to that apartment now. I want Zane out of there tonight." "Already on it." An hour later, Maria stood in her foyer as the social worker brought Zane through the door. He looked thinner, exhausted, dirty. When he saw her, he ran, crashed into her arms so hard they both nearly fell. "It's over," Maria whispered into his hair. "You're home. You're safe. It's over." Zane clung to her, sobbing. "I was strong, just like you said. You were so strong, baby. So strong." She held him tighter. "And you never have to be that strong again. I've got you now." Martha was right. Blood didn't make a family dot. This did. Maria woke to her phone ringing at 3 a.m. Richard's voice was sharp with panic. "Frank posted bail an hour ago." She sat bolt upright. "How? He was charged with trafficking." "Someone paid it. We don't know who. Maria, he's gone. Vanessa's still locked up, but Frank disappeared the moment he walked out." Maria's blood ran cold. She threw off the covers and ran down the hall to Zane's room. Empty. The bed was made untouched. Her heart stopped. Zane. She tore through the house, checking every room. Zane. Nothing. She ran back to his room, looking for signs of struggle. That's when she saw it. The window slightly open, muddy footprints on the sill. Someone had come in and taken him. Maria's phone buzzed. Unknown number. A text message with a photo attached. Zane bound and gagged in the back of a car, eyes wide with terror. Then another text. "You think you're smart. You got nothing without that paper. And I know where the real one is. Frank." Maria called 911 with shaking hands while simultaneously texting Richard. Police were dispatched immediately. Richard arrived at the estate within 20 minutes, bringing a tech specialist to trace the phone. The text came from a burner, but we've got the photo metadata. The tech pulled up a map on his laptop. Last ping was near Maple Street, the old neighborhood. Martha's apartment. Maria breathed. She was already grabbing her keys. "He thinks there's another copy of the document. He's taking Zane there to search for it." "Wait for the police," Richard urged. "No." Maria was out the door, running to her car. "Every second counts." She broke every speed limit getting to Maple Street. The neighborhood was dead silent at this hour, streetlights flickering, most of them broken. She parked 2 blocks away and approached on foot, calling the lead detective. "I'm here." "Where are you?" 2 minutes out. Stay in your vehicle, Miss Onyango." She hung up and kept walking. Martha's building loomed ahead, darker and more decrepit than she remembered. Most apartments were abandoned, now the city planning to demolish the whole block next month. A light flickered in Martha's third-floor window. Maria's heart hammered. She crept up the stairs, each step creaking beneath her feet. The door to 3B was ajar. Inside, she heard Frank's voice, harsh and frustrated. "Where the hell is it? The old bitch had to keep a copy. She was too paranoid not to." Maria peered through the crack. Frank was tearing the apartment apart, throwing furniture, ripping open cabinets. Zane sat in the corner, hands zip-tied behind his back, a gag in his mouth. Blood trickled from his nose. Rage flooded Maria's veins. She pushed the door open. "Get away from him." Frank spun around, a wild look in his eyes. In his hand, a knife. You ruined everything. The police are on their way. It's over, Frank." "It's not over until I find that goddamn paper." He kicked over the table. Martha told Vanessa she had insurance, something to protect the kid if Vanessa ever came back. "It's got to be here. There is no other paper. The one you had was the only one." "Bullshit." Frank grabbed Zane by the collar, hauling him to his feet. The boy whimpered through the gag. "The kid knows. Don't you, boy? Grandma told you where she hid her secrets. All those nights she whispered to you." "What did she say?" Zane shook his head frantically. Frank pressed the knife to his throat. "Tell me or I cut." "Stop." Maria took a step forward. "Please. He's just a child. A child worth millions. You made him worth millions." Frank's hand trembled. "I had a good thing going. Small-time collections, a little extortion here and there. Then you showed up with your Audi and your diamonds, and suddenly everybody's got big ideas. Vanessa wanted a payday. I wanted a payday. And you took it all away. You took it from yourself when you sold a baby. I needed that money. You don't know what Russo would have done to me. I was desperate." Frank's voice cracked, "But I can still fix this." Martha was paranoid. She kept records. I know she did. And when I find them, I'll have proof you coerced her, manipulated her. I'll destroy you in court." He shoved Zane toward the corner near the kitchen. The boy stumbled, falling hard. His head cracked against the floor. "You son of a bitch." Maria lunged. Frank swung the knife. She dodged, but not fast enough. The blade sliced across her forearm, pain searing through her. Blood bloomed through her sleeve. She didn't stop. She slammed into Frank, both of them crashing into the wall. The knife clattered away. They grappled Frank's hands around her throat, squeezing. "You should have paid me," he hissed. "You should have just paid." Maria's vision spotted. She couldn't breathe. Her hands scrabbled for anything, finding a broken chair leg. She swung it hard into Frank's temple. He roared, releasing her. She gasped for air, swinging again. This time he caught it, wrenching it from her grip. In the corner, Zane had gotten to his knees. His eyes were on something near the baseboard where he'd fallen. A loose brick. The same spot Martha used to tap nervously with her wheelchair. Zane looked at Maria. Even gagged, even terrified, his eyes said everything. There. It's there. Frank advanced on Maria, chair leg raised. "You just made this so much worse." Sirens wailed in the distance, getting closer. Frank's head whipped toward the sound. "No! No, no, no!" He looked around wildly, then grabbed a bottle of lighter fluid from the counter. "If I can't have the evidence, nobody can." He started spraying it across the apartment. The walls, the furniture, the floor. "What are you doing?" Maria scrambled backward. "Burning it all. You the kid any proof that ever existed." Frank pulled out a lighter. "They can't arrest me for murder if there's no bodies to find." Maria dove for Zane. She grabbed the loose brick he'd been staring at and yanked it free. Behind it, a small cavity in the wall. Inside, a metal box, rusted and old. Frank saw it. "Give me that." Maria pulled out the box and ran. Frank lunged after her, tackling her to the ground. The box flew from her hand, skidding across the floor. They both scrambled for it. Frank got there first, ripping it open. Inside yellowed papers, a church pamphlet, and a document with official seals. Frank pulled out the document, reading frantically. His face went pale. "Holy shit, this is—" Police burst through the door. "Freeze, hands up!" Frank grabbed the lighter. "Don't!" an officer shouted. Frank flicked it. Flame met lighter fluid. The apartment exploded into fire. Maria threw herself over Zane as heat and smoke engulfed them. She heard shouting, felt hands grabbing her, pulling them both toward the door. They stumbled into the hallway, coughing, choking. An officer carried Zane while another supported Maria. Behind them, the apartment was an inferno. "There's someone still inside," Maria gasped. Two officers ran back in, emerging moments later, dragging Frank. His clothes were smoking. His hands burned. He'd held on to the metal box even as the flames caught him. Paramedics swarmed. Someone cut Zane's zip ties, removed his gag. He collapsed into Maria's arms, sobbing. "I found it," he whispered. "Just like Grandma said, under the loose brick where she always tapped. She told me once, if anything happens, check the brick." I thought she was just confused, but she wasn't. She was telling me. Maria held him tighter, ignoring the paramedic trying to treat her arm. "You were so smart, so brave." The fire chief approached with the metal box, now scorched but intact. "This yours." Maria took it carefully. Inside, partially burned but still legible, was the document Frank had pulled out. Not a copy of the surrender paper, a contract, dated 7 years ago. Agreement of sale, infant male, approximately 6 months old, from Vanessa Brooks to Martha Brooks for the sum of $3,000. Witnessed by Frank Wilson. Purpose to settle gambling debt owed to Eduardo Russo. Below its signatures, Vanessa's, Frank's, and a third signature Maria didn't recognize. Russo's. This wasn't just proof of child trafficking. This was a contract showing premeditation conspiracy and the involvement of organized crime. Richard arrived panting from running up the stairs. He looked at the document and smiled grimly. "That's a life sentence for all of them." An officer handcuffed Frank, who sat on the ground dazed and burned. "Frank Wilson, you're under arrest for kidnapping, attempted murder, and arson." Frank looked at Maria with empty eyes. "I just needed the money." "You sold a child." Maria's voice was ice. "You don't get redemption for that." They hauled him away. The paramedic finally convinced Maria to sit so he could bandage her arm. The cut was deep, but not critical. Zane stayed pressed against her side, refusing to let go. "Is it really over?" he asked. Maria looked at the contract in the evidence bag an officer was sealing. Frank being loaded into a police car. The burning apartment that held nothing but bad memories now. "Yes, baby, it's really over." Zane buried his face in her shoulder. "Can we go home?" "Home." He'd called it home. Maria kissed the top of his head. "Yeah, let's go home." 6 weeks later, Maria sat in the courtroom holding Zane's hand. The boy wore a suit she'd bought him, navy blue with a crisp white shirt. He looked older somehow. more settled, though the shadows under his eyes hadn't completely faded. The courtroom was packed. Reporters lined the back rows, cameras prohibited, but notepads ready. This case had become national news. The billionaire, the abandoned child, the trafficking conspiracy that reached into organized crime. Judge Patricia Morrison entered, her expression severe. "All rise." Everyone stood. Maria's heart pounded as they sat back down. Across the aisle, Vanessa sat in an orange jumpsuit, her bleached hair grown out to show dark roots, makeup forbidden in county jail. She looked smaller than Maria remembered, diminished. 2 rows behind her, separated by guards, Frank Wilson sat in his own orange jumpsuit. Burns covered his hands and neck from the fire. He stared straight ahead, jaw clenched. "We're here for the criminal proceedings against Vanessa Brooks and Frank Wilson, as well as the custody determination for the minor child identified as Zane Brooks." Judge Morrison adjusted her glasses. "Let's begin with the criminal matters. Miss Brooks, Mr. Wilson, you've both been charged with conspiracy to commit child trafficking extortion, and in Mr. Wilson's case, additional charges of kidnapping, attempted murder, and arson. How do you plead?" Vanessa's public defender stood. "Your Honor, my client wishes to make a statement before entering her plea." The judge nodded. "Proceed." Vanessa rose slowly, dabbing at her eyes with a tissue. Maria's stomach turned. Even now, even here, she was performing. "Your Honor, I made terrible mistakes." Vanessa's voice shook. "I was young, desperate, addicted. I didn't know what I was doing. Frank manipulated me, told me it was the only way to survive." She gestured toward Frank. "He's the one who set everything up, who found the buyer, who took the money. I just signed what he told me to sign." "Liar!" Frank shot to his feet. "You came to me begging for help, said you couldn't handle a kid, needed cash fast. I connected you with Martha because I knew she wanted a child. I was doing everyone a favor." "Sit down, Mr. Wilson." The judge's voice was sharp. "She's making me the villain when all I did was—" "I said sit." The gavel cracked. Frank sat, his face red with fury. Vanessa continued, tears streaming now. "I've regretted it every day since. When I saw Zane again, saw what a beautiful boy he'd become, I wanted to make it right. I wanted to be his mother again. But Miss Onyango wouldn't let me near him. She used her money and power to keep us apart." "That's enough." Judge Morrison held up a hand. "Save your statements for sentencing." "Do you plead guilty or not guilty to the charges?" Vanessa's lawyer whispered to her. She swallowed hard. "Not guilty, Your Honor. I was coerced." Frank's attorney entered the same plea. "Not guilty by reason of duress." The judge looked unimpressed. "Very well. Prosecution, present your evidence." The district attorney stood, a sharp woman named Catherine Mills. "Your Honor, the state has overwhelming evidence of a coordinated conspiracy to traffic a child for financial gain." She approached the bench with a folder. "First, the contract found in Martha Brooks's apartment, signed by both defendants, explicitly stating the sale of an infant for $3,000 to settle a gambling debt." She placed the scorched document on the projector. The courtroom went silent as everyone read it. Second, recorded confessions from both defendants admitting to the transaction during an attempted extortion of Miss Onyango. Catherine played the audio from the hotel suite. Vanessa's voice filled the courtroom. "It's a signed statement from me saying I'm giving up my kid to Martha Brooks in exchange for payment." Frank's voice followed. "Hell, I arranged it. Vanessa owed me money. I owed worse people money. The old church lady had cash. Everybody won." Vanessa went pale. Frank closed his eyes. Third testimony from Miss Onyango regarding Mr. Wilson's kidnapping of the child and attempted destruction of evidence. Catherine nodded to Maria. Maria stood and approached the witness stand, sworn in, and recounted the night of the fire. Her voice remained steady as she described finding Zane bound and bleeding, Frank threatening to burn them alive. He said, and I quote, "If I can't have the evidence, nobody can." Maria looked directly at Frank. He chose to burn down that building with a child inside rather than face justice. Frank wouldn't meet her eyes. Finally, we have testimony from the victim himself. Catherine turned to the judge. "With your permission, Your Honor, Zane Brooks would like to address the court." Judge Morrison nodded. "The child may speak if he wishes." Zane stood slowly. He walked to the witness stand, was sworn in, and sat in the chair that seemed too big for him. His legs dangled, not quite reaching the floor. The courtroom was silent. "What would you like to say, Zane?" the judge asked gently. Zane looked at Vanessa first. She tried to smile at him, mouthing, "I love you." He looked away. "That woman says she's my mother," Zane said quietly. But I don't remember her being my mother. I remember her voice saying goodbye. I remember being cold and alone. I remember Grandma Martha finding me and giving me soup and telling me I was safe." Vanessa's face crumpled. Real tears now. When she came back, she didn't hug me. She didn't ask if I was okay. She looked at paintings and furniture and expensive things. Zane's voice grew stronger. She told Mr. Wilson she didn't care what happened to me as long as she got money. I heard her. She said I wasn't worth keeping unless I was worth millions. "Zane, baby, that's not," Vanessa started. "Quiet," the judge ordered. Zane turned to Maria, the woman who stopped her car when I asked, who sat in a chair at my graduation even though she didn't know me, who fought for me when everyone said I wasn't worth fighting for. His voice cracked. "That's my mom. Not because of blood, because she chose me, because she loves me." Maria's vision blurred with tears. She pressed her hand to her mouth. "A mother isn't someone who gives birth and walks away." Zane continued. "A mother is someone who stays. Someone who spends billions of dollars on lawyers and investigators. Someone who runs into a burning building to save you." He looked at the judge. "Maria is my mother, the only one who matters." The courtroom erupted in whispers. Judge Morrison gavelled for silence. "Thank you, Zane. You may step down." Zane walked back to Maria. She pulled him into her arms, holding him tight. The judge reviewed the documents in front of her, her expression hardening with each page. Finally, she looked up. "I've been a family court judge for 23 years. I've seen cases of neglect abuse and desperation, but this," she held up the contract, "this is one of the most disturbing cases I've encountered. A child sold like property, a mother who saw her son as a commodity, a man who facilitated human trafficking for gambling debts." Vanessa sobbed into her hands. Frank stared at the table. "Miss Brooks, Mr. Wilson, I want to be absolutely clear. You are not parents. You are traffickers. You sold a human life for profit and showed no remorse until facing consequences." The judge's voice was steel. "The evidence is irrefutable. The confessions are recorded. Your guilt is beyond question." She turned to the bailiff. "I'm changing both pleas to guilty based on the overwhelming evidence and recorded confessions. Miss Brooks, you are sentenced to 15 years in federal prison for child trafficking and conspiracy. Mr. Wilson, you are sentenced to 25 years for trafficking, conspiracy, kidnapping, attempted murder, and arson. Both sentences to be served without possibility of parole." Vanessa screamed, "No, please, I'm his mother. You were his incubator, nothing more." Judge Morrison's gavel cracked. "Bailiffs, remove them." Guards grabbed Vanessa as she thrashed, reaching for Zane. "Baby, please, tell them you forgive me." Zane pressed his face into Maria's shoulder. Frank went quietly, his shoulders slumped in defeat. As they dragged him past Maria, he muttered, "Should have just taken the money and ran." "You should have never touched him," Maria replied coldly. The courtroom cleared of the defendants. Judge Morrison turned to Maria and Zane, her expression softening. "Now for the custody matter. Miss Onyango, you've filed for permanent guardianship and adoption of Zane Brooks." "Yes, Your Honor. I've reviewed your home study financial records and character references. I've also considered Zane's own wishes, which are clear." The judge smiled slightly. "I'm granting full legal custody to Maria Onyango, effective immediately. Furthermore, I'm expediting the adoption process. Within 90 days, Zane Brooks will legally become Zane Onyango." Maria's breath caught. Zane looked up at her eyes wide. "Is that what you want?" the judge asked Zane directly. "Yes." Zane's voice was clear, certain. "More than anything." "Then it's settled." The gavel fell one final time. "This court is adjourned. Congratulations to you both." The courtroom erupted in applause. Reporters rushed for the doors. Maria pulled Zane close as tears streamed down her face. "We did it," she whispered. "You're mine. Really mine." "I've been yours since you stopped the car," Zane said. Richard approached, grinning. "Congratulations. Though I have to say, that was the most dramatic custody case I've ever worked. Worth every second." Maria stood still, holding Zane's hand. "Let's go home." They walked out of the courthouse into bright sunshine. Cameras flashed, reporters shouted questions, but Maria didn't stop. She and Zane got into her car and drove away from the chaos toward their future. In the rear-view mirror, the courthouse disappeared. So did the past. All that mattered now was the boy beside her, finally safe. Finally hers. Finally home. Martha moved into the guest house 3 days after the trial ended. Maria had offered her the main house, but the old woman refused. "Too much space makes me nervous," she'd said with a weak smile. The guest house has everything I need. What she needed mostly was peace and time with Zane. Maria hired round-the-clock nurses, brought in the best palliative care team money could buy. But everyone knew the truth. Martha had weeks, maybe a month, if they were lucky. The emphysema had won. Zane spent every afternoon in the guest house, reading to Martha, showing her his schoolwork, telling her about his day. Maria watched from the window, sometimes her heart breaking and healing simultaneously. One evening, 2 weeks after Martha arrived, the head nurse found Maria in her office. "She's asking for you both. I think it's time." They went together, Maria and Zane hand in hand. Martha lay in the hospital bed they'd set up in the living room, oxygen mask off, now breathing labored but peaceful. "There's my boy," she whispered when Zane climbed onto the bed beside her. "I'm here, Grandma." "Such a good boy. Such a brave boy." Martha's hand, paper thin and trembling, touched his face. "You know I love you right more than anything in this world." "I know." Zane's voice broke. "I love you too. You're gonna have a good life now, a real life, with a real mama who'll give you everything you deserve." Martha looked at Maria. "You take care of him. You hear me? Every day." Maria promised, tears streaming. "I swear it. I know you will. I saw it that first day. The way you looked at him. Like he mattered." Martha coughed, her whole body shaking. "He matters so much. He's everything," Maria whispered. Martha smiled, her eyes drifting closed. "Then my job's done. I can rest now." "Don't go," Zane sobbed, clutching her hand. "Please don't go. Baby, I'm so tired, and your granddad's been waiting for me a long time." Martha's breathing slowed. "Be good. Be happy. That's all I ever wanted." Zane buried his face in her shoulder. Maria wrapped her arms around both of them. Martha took one more breath, then silence. The nurse checked for a pulse, then shook her head gently. She was gone. Zane cried for hours. Maria held him through all of it, rocking him like a child half his age, whispering that it was okay, that Martha was at peace, that she'd loved him until her very last moment. They buried her in a cemetery overlooking the river with a headstone that read, "Martha Brooks. She saved a life and gained a grandson." That was enough. After the funeral, Maria stood at the grave with Zane. He placed a church badge on the fresh earth, the same one Martha had given him that first day. "She gave me this for luck," Zane said quietly. "Now she can have it back." Maria squeezed his shoulder. They stood in silence, watching the sunset. Then Zane looked up at her. "Can we do something for her? Something big?" "Like what?" "Help people like us. People in that neighborhood who don't have anything." Maria looked at him, this 8-year-old boy, with more compassion than most adults she knew. "Yeah, we can do that." 6 months later, Maria stood at a podium in front of what used to be Maple Street. Behind her, where condemned buildings had once rotted, stood a brand new development. 50 units of affordable housing, a community center, a medical clinic, a job training facility, all free for low-income families. The sign above the entrance read, "Martha Brooks Community Village." "This neighborhood raised me in many ways," Maria told the crowd of residents and reporters. "It taught me what really matters. Not money, not power, but people, family, love." She glanced at Zane standing beside her in his suit. "So today we're giving back. Every person here deserves a safe home, access to health care, and opportunities to build a better future. This is just the beginning." Families moved in that same week. Single mothers with children, elderly couples on fixed incomes, people who'd been one paycheck away from homelessness their entire lives. Zane visited often, helping younger kids with homework, playing basketball at the community center, reminding Maria why they'd built it in the first place. "Grandma would have loved this," he said one afternoon, watching children play in the new playground. "She would have been proud of you," Maria replied, "for thinking of it. I learned from the best." Zane grinned at her. 3 months later, the official adoption ceremony took place. Not in a courtroom this time, but in Judge Morrison's chambers. Intimate quiet, just Maria, Zane, Richard, and a handful of close friends. "This is a formality at this point," the judge said, smiling, "but an important one. Zane Brooks, from this moment forward, you are legally Zane Onyango, son of Maria Onyango. All rights, privileges, and inheritance therein." She stamped the documents with a flourish. Zane looked at the paper with his new name. "It's real now. It's been real since the day I stopped the car," Maria said. He hugged her tight. Mom." The words still made her chest ache with joy. They celebrated with dinner at Zane's favorite restaurant. Nothing fancy, just burgers and milkshakes. Normal. Exactly what he'd never had before. 1 year after that first graduation ceremony, they returned to Riverside Elementary. Zane was completing 2nd grade now, thriving top of his class. Maria sat in the same auditorium 2nd row, but this time there was no reservation sign. This time everyone knew who she was, who Zane was. The boy who'd been saved by a billionaire, the boy who'd helped send traffickers to prison, the boy who'd turned tragedy into hope. Zane's name was called. He walked across the stage, confident, smiling. No fear, no shame, just pride. He caught Maria's eye and waved. She waved back, tears threatening again. Happy tears this time. After the ceremony, other parents approached, thanked her for the community village, told her their stories of hardship and survival, asked how they could help others the way she'd helped Zane. Just stop when someone asks, Maria said simply. That's all it takes. Stop and listen and care. That evening, Maria and Zane stood on the balcony of their home, looking out over the city. Lights twinkled below each one. A life, a story, a person struggling or thriving or somewhere in between. Do you ever think about them? Zane asked. Vanessa and Frank. Sometimes. Maria chose her words carefully. I think about how broken people can break others, how desperation makes monsters. But I also think about how you survived them, how you're here safe, loved. Because of you. Because of us. Maria pulled him close. Because you were brave enough to ask a stranger for help. Because Martha was brave enough to save you. Because sometimes when everything's falling apart, people choose to be good anyway. Zane leaned against her. Mom. Yeah, baby. Thank you for stopping the car. Maria's throat tightened. Thank you for asking me to. They stood there until the stars came out, mother and son, bound not by blood, but by something stronger. Choice. Sacrifice. Love. In the distance, the Martha Brooks Community Village lights glowed warm. Families inside, eating dinner, watching TV, doing homework, living lives they'd almost lost hope for. All because one woman stopped her car. All because one boy was brave enough to ask. All because sometimes family isn't who you're born to. Family is who shows up when you need them most. Family is who stays. And Maria Onyango and Zane Onyango, they were family in every way that mattered. The DNA didn't make them mother and son. The love did. And that was more than enough.
Join us to share meaningful stories by hitting the like and subscribe buttons. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell to start your day with profound lessons and heartfelt empathy.